All right, guys. I'm gonna react to the 49ers' disappointing season. Y'all let me know what you think, man. It's been a bad season. The season has not been good. Who is it that we're gonna blame for the disappointing season? Y'all let me know what you think, but let's kind of react to it and see what we got real quick.
He also announced the loss of his 1-year-old daughter, if I'm not mistaken. That occurred a little over around a month ago. So that is what's happened to the Niners off of the field. On the field, Christian McCaffrey, he was put on IR with the PCL injury. Backup running back Mason, he also has gone on IR. Bosa has been hurt. Brock Purdy's had a shoulder. George Kittle, he's had a hamstring.
Hold on, guys, look at this. For one, we had two guys, Jake Moody and Trent Williams, both had loss of their children in the season. They announced it about Trent Williams not long ago. So look at the loss of all of these people that we've had that's in the lineup. Let's just take a look at it. You got Brandon Ayuk. You got Nick Bosa with a hip. You got Dre Greenlaw, Achilles. Javon Hargrave, Talanoa Hufanga. Juwan Jennings had a hip injury. George Kittle been in and out with a hamstring. Jordan Mason is gone for the season. Christian McCaffrey is gone for the season. Jake Moody was out for a while. So Brock Purdy was out with a shoulder injury. Debo been dealing with a calf injury. And of course Trent with his ankle on top of what happened with the kid. So man, it's been, we don't want to use excuses, but at the same time it's been pretty rough. It's been a tough season when you have all pro players. When those guys are missing, and you have all pro players, man, it's just at the point to where you just can't replace that. You can do your best. I think we can do better for it is us putting the work in, handling the business, and actually don't get too thinking we just winners and we can't lose and put ourselves in a hole. So at the end of the day, we finding out, losing those picks, those draft picks that we missed on, it's making us very thin. We don't have the depth that we've had in years past. So let's go back and hear what they got to say on it.
Greenlaw, he's had a tricep. Dre Greenlaw had an Achilles. Javon Hargrave had a tricep. Y'all see it in front of you. I mean, the list is like a CVS receipt. It's so long. So the Niners have had a lot go wrong for them this season. They've had injuries, they've had health, they've had family tragedy. So much has gone wrong for the Niners, but in football, again, obviously, you can't point to what's gone wrong. You got to figure out why it's gone wrong. Shady, you played the game for 12 years. You won 2 Super Bowls. You played for some really good teams. On occasion, you had a bad team here or there. So who is to blame for the 49ers' disappointment?
A lot of injuries you talked about, right? But I want to go deeper than that, man. I want to go up to the front office, head coach, GM work. I think they got too complacent, right? When I say that, that means, okay, so every year, either we're in the NFC Championship game or we're in the Super Bowl. Right, so when you see yourself as we're just winners, there's some teams you just know that look, at the end of the year they're gonna be one of the top. And I think they got too complacent where you think about small things like this. CMC, right, knowing he was injured, knowing how that would go, not really having a real answer for that, right? Because they didn't really have a real answer for him being absent. Brandon Ayuk, instead of getting this deal done early in camp, right, having your #1 route runner receiver, thinking that, okay, we'll get it done eventually because we're so good of a team. If he does miss a game or two, we are that good. We'll be okay. And then that didn't go well. Then when he came back, he was rusty. Everybody comes back from holding out in training camp, they always be rusty. They may take some 2 or 3 games to get acclimated. But in his case, he kind of...
Y'all see what he said? This is a guy that played Shady McCoy. They know. So for my Niner fans that's out there that's mad at Brandon Ayuk, that's mad at CMC, for one, I don't understand why they had CMC going so hard coming fresh off of the injury. It takes a few weeks, a few games to get going. And that cold weather ain't going to help. I'm not going to blame Kyle for that because Jordan Mason also got hurt. So it's just been a year, I think, of us getting deep into the playoffs, going to the Super Bowl, going to the NFC Championship game. Eventually it's going to catch up to you. And that's what it looked like it's doing this year. This year it ain't over with because our division is pretty weak. But the loss of Jordan Mason and CMC the other night, it was just icing on the cake. It's been a tough one. But let's go back and see what they're saying on this one.
Injured doing that. Right? I want to go to Trent Williams. Your best player on offense. Your best player probably on your team, depending on how you look at it. And knowing he had a contract situation. Instead of handling that ASAP, getting my team in line, everything we need, you figure, well, we got Kyle Shanahan. He's the best offensive play caller in the league. One of them. We'll be okay. We win games on defense. We in offense. We'll be all right. And you don't take care of Trent. And that takes him a couple games to get acclimated, get back in the flow. And I think once everything started falling down, it's like, oh, what do we do? Greenlaw's a really, really good player.
He is.
His absence, you can see it. Instead of having a real answer, you didn't. You just plucked somebody in there, though, because you think that our team is so good that we'll be okay. And we.
Hey, these teams, these NFL teams, hey, this guy knows. I've been telling guys this for a long time. You just can't keep talking about, people are always quick to say next man up. There is no next man up for Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw is a top 10 linebacker in the NFL. He's a monster. Same thing with Javon Hargrave, Nick Bosa. These guys are superstars. You cannot replace these guys. What they say on Titans and Gary Bertier, you cannot replace that. Absolutely. These superstar guys, you just can't replace these guys. It's easy to say next man up until the next man that has to replace the other guy is somebody like Dre Greenlaw. Me being a fan of the Niners, I've been missing Dre Greenlaw since he left. We missed him in the Super Bowl. I think that's one of the main reasons why they lost the Super Bowl without a Dre Greenlaw there. And when you're missing a guy like that eats up a lot of space, that can cover, that is a tackling machine. Same thing with Talanoa Hufanga. Missing that guy. He's another one that's a heat-seeking missile. Now, we got two rookies and young guys that is pretty good guys out there in that safety, but you cannot replace these guys and just think you can put anybody in their position and they're going to do the same work and they're going to replace and put up the same stuff that the guy that you're replacing, who was an all-pro, who was that. You're not going to replace that. Let's get it.
You don't handle everything from the top to the bottom, this is what happens. Now you get these injuries. Now guys not really ready to play, now they're forced to play. If you'd have took care of these things in the offseason, maybe Brown, you wouldn't have got hurt. Maybe he'd have been ready to play. Maybe Trent Williams would have been in shape and been ready to roll. But when you make these guys hold out, that's what happens. So I think they got too complacent.
That's well said. Jay, what you think?
Whew.
First off, prayers up to all them dudes.
Yeah,
sure. Especially
Yep.
the ones that lost the baby.
Especially Trent,
That's,
yeah,
oof.
for sure.
That's tough. Well, number one, you got to start with the head coach. The head coach is the leader of the ship, right? Ain't no season perfect. Mm-hmm. Somebody always gonna get injured. You know, you guys remember when we sit in the team meeting before training camp and they going through all the, hey, this what the IR look like, this, and everybody sitting in there like, man, it ain't gonna be me. And the trainers is up there like, a lot of y'all gonna be up in this IR, you know, in the training room. That's just the name of the game of football. So injuries is gonna happen. And as a head coach, it's your job to try to keep the team afloat when injuries happen. It's injuries on every single football team, and it's your job to do that. Kyle Shanahan this year has not done a good job. Years past, he's done a good job. We've talked about injuries for the Niners for the last 10 years, and they've been in the NFC Championship and Super Bowl games. But to me, too, though, this is football, man. This is just...
Hold on, let me go on that. So for the guys that don't know, that when you don't follow the team, you don't really know it like that. The thing that we're having a problem with this year is the missed draft picks. We gave 3 draft picks up to get Trey Lance. We missed a couple of other draft picks. Over these last 3 years or so, we were pretty deep. And like I said, once again, that's why we're not deep, because we don't have those draft picks. And what I'm starting to see is that the loss of that, the loss of the draft picks, you know, when you're not getting the draft picks or you're missing on them, you can feel it this year, and you can feel what we've been dealing with. You can feel the loss. You can tell that the depth that we had is just not there because we don't have the draft picks. We've missed on some of them, and some of them we just flat out got rid of and lost through trades and stuff like that. So it's starting to catch up with us, that particular situation. You just can't keep missing on draft picks and think that's going to get you. Now, we've done great in the later rounds, but if you look at our first couple of rounds, we have not done a good job in the draft, man, with the exception of a few guys. Brandon Ayuk was a first-round pick. We got some guys that we just lost, that we just cut, that ain't even on the team that we've drafted. So that's another reason that you're dealing with that. We'll get back to it.
That's sometimes how seasons go.
Okay.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody in the world would have told me you guys are going to win the Super Bowl in 2011. You're going to have 17 starters hurt. You're going to have everybody on your football team be a young player, ain't up for no contracts. and you will not get back to another one with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. And we ain't touch another one. Strictly because that is football. That is why what the Kansas City Chiefs and Tom Brady did is so impressive. Because it is hard to consistently win and get to those games. Because you're gonna battle injuries, you're gonna battle a bunch of different stuff. It's hard to get to those games. This is what the Niners has experienced this year. It's hard to win football games.
You know what, he right about that. And I'm gonna say this season kind of reminds me of the 2020 season. After we lost the Super Bowl to the Chiefs in 2019, we were plagued by injuries. This feels like the same type of year. Only thing is, let's hope, for my sake and for every fan that's a Niner fan, let's hope that we actually get back there. Because the last time this happened to us, it took us 5 years to get back to the Super Bowl. We got there in 2019, didn't get there again until this past season, 2023-24 season. So let's see how that goes. But Debo said it, man. Everybody act like it's just easy to make it back to this position. Everything got to go right. First off, you being healthy, and that has not went our way. And I think it's just us playing so many games in the season, you know what I mean, to where it's catching up to us. It has caught up to us, and we're going to have to regroup. We're going to have to get healthy. We're going to have to regroup, get guys back, and switch some things up, see what we get from there. But I'm not going to go too deep. I just want you guys to understand, man, that this is what I feel like what we're dealing with right now. Let's go back to it and see what they're saying.
Hard to stay healthy. It's hard to be good for a very long time at an elite level, and that's what they experience. It's a bad year. It's a bad year, and it happens like that.
And y'all sitting there just saying, yeah, and all that. For 80% that was correct. The last
really
part
take.
about, it was a great take to the Aaron Rodgers part. When you got great quarterbacks, so they don't just go to one of them, right? I'm not tripping. I'm not gonna take this. I'm just saying, but like I just don't like when y'all just like, yeah, you're right.
But isn't that the point though of like because Pat
It's
and Brady
hard.
are so good?
That's why I said it's special
Like,
what
so
they
it's special.
doing.
But what I'm saying is, the part with Aaron, you should have said, nah.
You should have said yeah, because I said it's special what they doing. It wasn't special what we did.
Yeah.
Look, you Shady, I sort of agree with your take. I definitely agree with yours. You said they're too complacent. I don't know if they're so much complacent as in just it's football. Like, do you know how hard? Maybe you don't, but it is very difficult to have sustained success in this league, and not only sustained success. Right, 19, you go to the Super Bowl. 2020 was your one down year. This is what this year reminds me of. They were 6-10, quarterback issues that year, injury issues this year, and then in 21 and 22 you go back to the NFC Championship game. 23 you get back to the Super Bowl. I mean, their sustained success is insane. So for me, I think it falls on everyone, but also like at the end of the day, it's football. Yeah. Like you're gonna have up and down years no matter what.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting to me this year because they have the fourth oldest roster in the NFL right now, an average age of 28 years old. They're the fourth oldest. You look toward next year, it's like, what are they gonna look like, right? Like we know what went wrong this year. It's just like, in my opinion, it's football. But you look toward next year, right? It's going to be interesting to see how they handle it this offseason. And it just seems this year's like the vibes are bad. From you didn't even say Ricky Pearsall got shot. Yeah, did we forget about all these offseason issues?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That just sort of make the vibes in the locker room bad. And for some reason, you have all these injuries plus that. That's what I blame this season. I don't blame it on one person, right? Ultimately, the GM and the head coach need to wear it, because that's just what they'll do. And at the end of the year, Kyle Shanahan will come up with something fun, and they're going to be back in the Super Bowl next year. Like, it's just, I don't think their window's closing either. I know this isn't part of the question, but the disappointing season for me, it's just like, chalk it up to football.
I got an answer, but
let me go with that right there, too. I hear everybody saying the window closing. The window can close, but as long as you keep the right people around, for one, the window closing for this season on us just off the injuries alone. People can say what they want. You don't want to use injuries and blame injuries, but let's be real. This team that's out there right now, it's a lot of people that's out there playing that don't normally play when the guys are there. That's just what it is. We hadn't even said nothing about Fred Warner playing with a fractured ankle for the last 7-8 games because he don't want to leave his teammates out there. But at the end of the day, we just got to understand that, things happen in the league. But to be honest with you, the injuries kind of, got to us. So, the window's not closing. We'll make a few moves. They'll make a few moves over the off season. Hopefully, everybody can get healthy, strengthen up the line because we need that line to be strong. We can't just be Nick Bosa is the only pass rush that we have. We need those guys to come in and make it happen. But no, the window's not closed. We just got to see us healthy. Then we need to regroup and go back and see what it's going to be. But let's see where we at on that. That's just my take on it.
Importantly, I got a question for all y'all because here's the dilemma. If I'm a viewer at home, if I'm y'all, because I'm currently listening to everything y'all are saying, there's tension with what y'all are saying. Because when you go to the doctor, 2-5, James Jones, Chase, myself, you at home, if you go to the doctor and you ask them what's wrong, and they can't tell you what's wrong, then you don't know how to fix it. And right now, so much of what y'all are saying isn't necessarily blaming anything. Y'all are just saying it's football. It's football. I agree with all y'all. I played the game clearly in less time than y'all, but it's football. But if you can't tell me, Shady, exactly what happened, then how can I fix what happened? So I'm a little torn, Chase. I'm a torn, James, because injuries happen every year.
Yeah.
Not like this.
No.
Not like this.
But to the Niners, these injuries happened again in 2020.
Star players.
Yeah.
That was the last time it happened.
Yeah.
Kittle got hurt in 2020. All the quarterbacks got hurt in 2020, obviously. So I guess my question then is, what can the Niners do to avoid this happening again?
Well, that's why I said it starts with the coach. And the main reason why I said it starts with the coach.
What can they do for this not to happen again? Because this has clearly happened again before with the Niners. I don't know who the strength and conditioning coach is, and I don't want to blame them all the way, but it's got to be some kind of scenario with this organization. The physicality of the team, it's just been happening a lot more than a lot of other teams. Yes, everybody deal with injuries, but at this level of injury, it's just different. So at the end of the day, what's up with the strength and conditioning coaches? I mean, like, what are we doing? Why are we in a position where we're always injured and everything is always going wrong with the squad when it comes to the injuries? We understand there's injuries, but this is a lot more than what normally happens. So we got to figure out what it is about these guys and what they go through and why are they being injured the way they are. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure they put in work. They put a lot of work in. Every NFL organization does. They got a program where they're training, they're doing things to that nature. So what can we do differently as far as strength and conditioning? Yes, head coach Kyle, what we need to do different. I mean, we can blame Kyle, but it's only so much. Kyle don't get down to the 2-yard line like what happened the other day and fumble. You know what I'm saying? Kyle doesn't throw the interceptions. He does call the plays. Defensive coordinator, no. They not missing tackles. It's the players on the field doing that. Just like they get credit for it, they also got to have credit when it's not going the same way. But like I said, it's also got to do with these guys dealing with the injuries that we're dealing with this year. So with this take, I just believe that we just got to get back healthy. There's going to be a few players that we're going to have to pick up and we're going to have to address and see how it goes. But again, we just have to, see what's going to happen on the strength and conditioning scenario and wonder why we're always in this position. And again, we're a physical team, so I guess the physicality of the team not only hurts the other team, but it does hurt us too, being so physical. So that's just what I look at on the scenario.
Because who Shady says is the greatest coach of all time, and Andy Reid, you lose Pacheco, you lose Hollywood Brown, you lose Rashid Rice. You lost a lot of key players, key starters that was for your football team.
Edwards-Helaire didn't even start.
Your quarterback is not playing at an elite level. And your football team has lost one game, and they found a way to win games. So at one point, you got.
Let me look into that. So the Kansas City Chiefs has been pretty healthy on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm a Niner fan, and I thought the Niners have had some of the best defenses over the last 3 years or so. But let's be real, man. We got to give Kansas City defense credit. Those guys lock people up. They shut them down to keep the offense having an opportunity to win the game. And the football guys just work for them. The block punts, the things that just be falling their way. But let's not overlook how good the defense is. Their defense have been healthy, and their defense have been locking everybody down. We got to give them credit. They probably have had the best defense in the league over the last 2 or 3 years. Whether it's on paper or not, but on paper and how they do and hold these stars, go look up the last 10, 12 games that they've played and what the stars of the other teams have done. I remember Super Bowl, Debo, Trent Williams, not Trent, Debo, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, CMC. None of those guys had great games, and if you go look at them, their defense is elite. They shutting people down to keep their offense there to where they can actually have a chance to win it. And that's the difference with us. We have so many of our star players missing on the defensive side of the ball to where we can't hold people down. We're missing tackles left and right, and they're scoring on us, and we're not finishing drives. That's what's wrong with us. What's wrong with us this year, since these guys don't know, we're getting to the red zone and we're not finishing. If you go back and look at the Buffalo game, in that first half, I think the Buffalo had 240 yards of offense. The Niners had 193. That's less than 50. That's about 50-yard difference. Only difference is the Niners was not getting in the end zone. So that's going to be the situation with them. That's what's wrong with them. They're not scoring in the red zone. But ultimately, it's the injury. But back with the Chiefs, their defense been healthy and their defensive dominant. Hats off to them. They got great defense, and that's what's been going on.
Let's start with the head coach. He started with the up top and all that, but you got to start with the head coach. It is your job to get this team to play football the right way at an elite level, no matter who trots out there. That is his job. So that's why I said it starts with the head coach. Obviously, the players is going to play on the field, do what they do, but it starts with the head coach.
And to answer your question, it's like, well, how can you not point to? You can. You can point to all the injuries because, their injuries are to star players. Yeah. Right? You're only as good as but then you look toward next year because I want to do that. And Brock Purdy, for me, you're going to have to pay him between $50 and $60 million. It's going to drastically change the way your organization looks. All your cornerstone players right now are old, right? George Kittle's 31. Has he lost it? I see a game every once in a while. CMC's hurt. He's an older running back. He's 28. Trent Williams is old. He's 36. Brandon Ayuk is coming off in ACL. So, how are you going to morph into the new version of the San Francisco 49ers? Hufunga's coming off injury, Hargrave. Your guy Fred Warner's getting older. He's got a lot of hits. So that's what I'm most interested in, is what this looks like. And can you follow the Chiefs' way of paying a quarterback a lot of money and still being consistently successful in the league? And I don't know if they're going to be able to do that or not.
See, that's what I said about being complacent. Because you didn't even think about those things. You know why? Because every year when you just think about the NFL, it's a chance that the Niners will be in the playoffs. The Niners will be in the NFC Championship. The Niners will be in the Super Bowl. So it's maybe Trent Williams is getting older. He's the best player, but he's getting older. Do we get his deal done? Or do we get somebody in the room that can replace him?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Maybe not this.
And that's what we need to do. We have gotten complacent. Even the fans, we get to the point where we just expect them to get to the Super Bowl, or at least to the playoffs. We know they're going to be in the playoffs. We don't even see them not being in the playoffs because they've been so dominant and they've been so tough and on top of everything. So, the organization getting complacent. They've neglected the offensive line over the last 4 draft picks. I think we got 1 draft pick that we drafted on the offensive line, maybe 2. Puny, we just got Puny, but out of him, we done had 2 of them in the last 6 years or so. So we hadn't been drafting offensive linemen. We kind of neglected that area, and that's right. We got to figure out how we're going to move forward. And y'all let me know what you guys think. I'm going to close it out right now, but let me know what you think, what the Niners should do moving forward, getting to the next level. You know what I'm saying? And seeing, will they make the playoffs this year? Number 1. Number 2, if not, do they lose all the games? Do they try to position themselves for a high draft pick? We still got a lot of football left, especially in the NFC West. You got 5 games to go. They got to win them all to even get a shot. And they may not even make it even if they win them all. But at this point in time, this is where we at. So we just got to understand that that's where we are, that's where we at, and we got to determine what's the next move and how we're going to go, replace some of the guys, get healthy, because some of our star players, a lot of them are aging. Kittle is 31 or 32 or so. Debo 28, but he's been very physical. Have we seen the last of that Debo? I've seen flashes of Debo, flashes of Kittle, but our age of our star players are getting up there. Fred Warner been battle tested for some years. Will he be able to overcome that? How long will he be able to play at the level that he's playing at? Will we be able to draft players to come in and kind of offset and kind of replace it? Because like they said, are we paying Brock Purdy? If we're at the end of this, where Brock Purdy only making $700,000, where you can pay everybody else. Now, that's not going to be able to happen, so we got to make a decision, right? So you guys let me know. Follow my page. Click on the link, the like button. If you didn't come this far, then hit the like, subscribe, and let me know what you think, man, and then we'll get back to it. And I appreciate you guys for following. Y'all have a good one.